Hi everyone. In this video, we will discuss how you can complete your assignment 2. So that's about implementing integration between ADDS and Azure Entra ID or Azure AD. Okay, let's go with this particular lab activity. So I have already launched the lab because you all know about how you can launch the lab. So it's already done. Now let's continue with these steps. So first and foremost, before you go and start doing your lab, you will have to complete this particular part. Okay, fine then. Let's go and do. So we have already logged inside the virtual machine. And then let's try to access portal. You can use any web browser for that. I'll go for portal.azure.com. In here, you have to provide the lab username and password. As usual, you can use this copy to clipboard option to copy paste. Meanwhile, the moment you complete some step, you can check that box so that you can track what you have done so far. Let me search for Entra ID. So here, what are we going to do is like we're going to create a tenant. So for creating a tenant, we need to go to Entra ID, and under Entra ID, you have Manage Tenant option. And in here, you'll go and create a tenant. So just leave this option as it is because we are just going to create just a Entra ID. It's not a B2C kind of tenant. And say next configuration. In here, the organization name, let us give it as Qantas organization as specified in the instruction. And then the initial domain name, let us give this and leave the other options to the default value, and let's go and create and create. It will throw some captcha to be entered just to verify that you are a human. Let's do that. HS in caps, P to B in small, SMK in caps if I'm not wrong. Sometimes when you are trying to create a new tenant, even though you give everything perfectly, sometimes it's a kind of transient error, like you will be thrown an error message, or sometimes even if you are waiting for even 3 to 4 minutes also, this page will never take you to some other page. Either success or failure message, you never get it, or you might get some failure message. Whatever the case it is, you can just wait for 20 seconds, 20 to 25 seconds, and later, like you can just get rid of all these things and you can just go and refresh your tenant. That tenant will be definitely created. Okay, let's do that. I'm not getting any message, or I can do one thing. I can just duplicate this particular tab and I can check whether the tenant is created or not. I'll go to Enter ID. Under Enter ID, let's select Manage Tenant and see, you can see that that particular organization is already created here. So that's it. Okay, now if you want add download all these files, because in our part we might use these files for doing some activity. Yes, we don't need to wait. As I stated, yeah, tenant creation was successful. That's great. Now let's go and do the next task. So now only we are going to start the lab. Okay. So while starting this lab, see, this tenant creation is already done. So you don't need to repeat this particular task again. So this, it says you're going to create another tenant. The same, here you have already created the tenant, so you don't need to repeat this particular step. You can just check this box and leave it, and you can straight away start with your exercise 1. The exercise 1 is preparing Microsoft Entra ID for ADDS integration. Under that, let's go and start our first task, that's creating a custom domain in Azure Cloud. Okay, for that, let's go to enter ID again, and you can say okay. And custom domain names, you can find it under this manage section. Go and get this custom domain names. And you can see that couple of domains are already created and verified. So for us, this particular add custom domain option is not visible. Okay, so in such cases, what you're supposed to do is we need to change the tenant. So default, we will be in this lab user tenant. Okay, so we need to change this tenant to the tenant what we have created in our previous step. So for that, what you do is you go to click on this user icon and say switch directory. And if you're finding only one directory, you can just refresh once. And you can see there are two directories, one per each tenant. The one which was created default, another one what is created by you. Let us switch to the tenant what we have created. So this is the tenant we created, right? So let's go to that tenant by clicking switch button. Okay, so because it is a new requirement from Microsoft that MFA, setting up an MFA is mandatory. So if in case you are getting this message, not in case, obviously you will get it. So in here, what you will do is that you will set MFA for this particular user ID. So what we will do is, let's go and set MFA. What I can suggest you is that like in your app, in your mobile, you can download an app that is related to Authenticator app. And then with that Authenticator app, you can start doing the things. I already have the Authenticator app downloaded. What I'm going to do is I'll just simply click on next. Okay. I can say next again and next again. So it will be asking me to scan this QR code. So what I will do in my Microsoft Authenticator app, when I open, there will be a plus sign to add a new device. And it'll ask the type of account. The type of account what you choose will be either work or school account. So the second option, work or school account, you select and scan a QR code. And my mobile successfully scanned the QR code. So now I can say next. It's registered with my Authenticator app. Just for the verification, I'll just key in the 47 in my mobile. Yes, everything is successful as part of MFA is concerned. And I can say next and done. And that is it. You can see that we have successfully set MFA, and make sure that you are in this current directory called Contoso organization. Okay, so if it says a tick in green circle, then it is that the current directory is this, and you can also verify it here under your username. The organization is Contoso organization. Let's repeat the same steps again. I'll go to enter ID. And then I'll go to custom domain names. And now you can see that you can add a custom domain name. Let's add a custom domain name, give it a name. Let's see if there is any specific name to be given. Yeah, it's asking us to enter contosor.com. Let's do that. Contosor.com. You can put it in small case and say add domain. So only you can add the domain. We can't verify it because this contosor.com domain name is not ours. We are not the owner for it. If we are, we can definitely verify it, but this verification step we don't need to complete. I can just close this. And when I refresh it here, you can see this countersource.com added as a custom domain name here. So this will end your task 1. Let's go ahead and do the task 2. So the task 2 is creating a global administrator role, user with global administrator role. And for that, I'll go to Entra ID. I hope I'm already in Entra ID. I'll select users and I'll go for new user and create a new user. So this will allow me to create a user. Let's give the name for the user as admin and make sure that the recently created organization is selected here as a suffix. Okay. And then you can just go for the display name also to be admin. And what you need to do is that, like, we need these credentials for logging in, and we are letting the default password to be added. For that, what you can do, you can open a notepad and save this username and password. So what I will do is I'll just put the password and username in another tab just so that I can copy paste it easily. Okay. Everything is done. And what else we need to do? So you need to go through this instruction as well, because we can do it without going through the instruction, but sometimes a specific requirement we might miss it out. So everything is okay. And then I can say next properties. And in here, is there any specific property I have to add? Okay, only the location to be set as United States. I'll scroll down all the way down and select this United States. Okay, this is done. And then the next is assignment. On assignment tab, we need to add role. So let me just go and add the role. Under the role, the list of roles is visible. In here, I will select global administrator 1. So I'll search for global admin. And I add this global administrator and say select. And once it is done, then we can go for create, review, create, and create. That will end your task 2. And I forgot to tell you one thing, that every task you have to take a screenshot. So you by now you will be knowing like how to take screenshot. You will be adding a sticky note or whatever it is to say that to reflect your name and time what you have created, all these things. Fine. So now we are ready to go for task 3. So on task 3, let's see what are we going to do now. Okay, so let's sign out of this particular account and sign in using the new user ID what we have created. So this is the new user ID. I'll copy that user principal name. So this is the user principal name and this is the password for the UPN what I have created in my previous task. Instead, you can sign out. You better go for an incognito window or in private window where you can log in without any issues. So you have to log in to the account using the new user ID. For that, I'll access portal.azure.com and key in the user and principal name. And then the password, let me copy it from the other tab. So this is the password. And say paste and say sign in. Okay. There is some, let me just go once again, get inside. Okay, I think I have copied the wrong user ID. Let me just go and verify the users once again. Yes, I copied the wrong one. So I'll go for selecting this admin, not the lab user one. Let's select this and come back here. I'll go back. Control A, Control V, and say next. Then copy the password. Come back here and paste it. And say sign in. And we need to reset the password because this is the first time you're logging in. And even for this user also, you need to set MFA. You can use the same device for setting multiple MFAs. That's not a problem. Yeah, it is asking for us to set MFA. You'll repeat the same task what you have done before. So you need to repeat the same steps what you have done before. Okay. Let me go and add this user also. I'll say next. And I say next. Next. I will add this device. I pressed plus in my authenticator app, and the type of account is work or school account. Scan a QR code and scan successfully. So I need to verify once. The number what I need to type in is 51, and yes, it is done. These steps are not explained in the instruction because this MFA requirement is very new and that might confuse you. That is the reason I just recorded this video and I can say done. So everything is done. The user has logged in successfully. We just logged in successfully even by changing the password. So all these things are done now. I can just log out of this particular user. User button and say sign out. And you can close this in private windows. Fine. So we completed our exercise 1. Let us begin exercise 2. That is preparing on-premises ADDS for Entra ID integration. And there is one tool. We can download this tool and use this tool to check or verify whether our ADDS environment, Active Directory environment is ready for synchronization or not. So that's a simple thing, like we just need to download this software and just try to run this software. That's it. We'll do that. Let me minimize the browser tab. Sorry, I need to open a new browser tab. On here, let me search for this given URL. And in this URL, if you scroll down, you can get a button called launch here. And you click on this launch button. And once it is downloaded, we just open this file and install it. It's preparing for installation. Yeah, let's click on install. And we can say, okay, that's okay. Yes, the installation part is done. Now we need to run this, check if there is any problem which needs to be fixed in ADDS environment. But how to do that? In the ID fixed window, select query. So this is the one which we have to select, and you can say yes. And then you can just review whatever the things are given here. So it will be asking you to select edit under this action button. And then you will say apply. Yes. And you can just close this and that's it. Now let's go with the exercise 3. In here, we are going to download, install, and configure Entra Connect. See, the pre-assumption is that this virtual machine, what we are using is already have this ADDS role installed and upgraded as a Active Directory server, and then some username, everything is already there. So we are not doing that particular step. We are just concentrating only on the sync part. So that is why we are directly going with the sync one. Already ADDS is set up here. If you want, you can just go and test it. So if you go to your server manager and if you go to the tools and you can see almost all the tools available, which you can interact with the Active Directory using GUI. It means then it is already installed with ADDS, DHCP, DNS, everything is there. Even Hyper-V is also enabled, but in this, I don't think so. We're going to use this Hyper-V, but still. Okay, fine. Now let's begin exercise 3, and that's about install, configure Microsoft Interconnect. So how do we do that? We need to go to our Microsoft Azure account. This is Microsoft Azure account. In here, let's search for Entra ID. Under Entra ID, you need to go for Entra Connect. This is Microsoft Entra Connect. And in here, it will be a little confusing because the instructions are reflecting the old UI, but recently the UI got little modified. So what you can do, just go to here and say manage. And when you scroll down, you can just download this Connect Sync agent. And you have to accept this term and download it. You need to wait for some time. It gets downloaded. And once it is downloaded, then we can just go and install this particular Connect. Yeah, AD Connect software or agent is downloaded. Let's install. Okay, I need to agree the license terms and privacy notice. And then I say continue. In here, during our class, we went with customized settings, but here we are going with the express setting. So it is asking us to select express setting. On the connect to Azure AD page, enter the username and password of the global administrator, what we have created in our Azure account. So do you remember, like we logged in as a second user and we set also MFA, that user's credential we need to take. What I'll do, I'll just go here, search for Entra ID and go to user. User name starts with admin. Yeah, all user, this one, quite confusing. I'll go to the first tab itself. In here, I'll just try to duplicate this. And I can go to Entra ID and go to users. So this user ID, UPN, and next, and the password. Password you already reset while first login time. So you need to give that. The username is as copied and the password, what you could have given. If in case it is asking for any MFA verification, you could even do that by using your MFA device. But if it is not asking, you can just leave it. So in here, which username you have to give? Let's see. So this is done. Connect to Azure AD is done. That's also done. Connect to ADDS. So in here, okay, the instruction is saying it is to be entered by the ID what is provided to you by the instructor. But here what we can use is this one, the Contoso administrator credentials. You can say the username and then the password, because by default, the admin of this system will become the member of domain admin so that he can verify. And I can say next. Yes, that's okay. Everything is perfect. So the Contoso.com is not verified. Yes, it is. We haven't verified this. And we can select this option called continue without matching all UPN suffixes to verify domain. But this is not the best practice to do so. But because of this domain name registration inability, we are going ahead. That's okay. I'll say next. And I can say install. So we need to give some time for this. By this, we have completed exercise 3. Yeah, it took near about 5 minutes to complete. And I can say exit. You're done with exercise 3. Now let's go and start doing exercise 4. In this exercise, we will have to verify the integration. Was it successful or not? So how do we do that? Let's go and walk through these particular statements. Okay, I'll just go to enter ID and go to user section. Previously, we had only 2 user, but right now you can see under our contours organization that we have a lot of users and some are synchronous from on-prem and it says yes. Almost all will be yes, only 2 will be no. If so, then you are in the right directory. If not, you have to change the directory, but that's okay. Yes, that's done. And we can even check it with the help of groups as well. Either you can go directly get the groups, or you can go to enter ID and go to the groups. Total groups are 10. Go and see that all the groups are synced from Microsoft 80. And you can see that. And we can update some user in the Active Directory and resync it using some PowerShell command. And let's see whether the modification is getting reflected here or not. For that, you can just go and watch for Sumesh Rajan. I'll go to users, search for Sumesh Rajan. And if I get inside, and if I go to properties, see right now the job title is empty. This is expected because it was not added in Active Directory. Now we will go and add this particular attribute as manager. And also we will be creating one more user called Jordan. Right now that Jordan user is also not there in this particular sync list. Let's do that. For that, let's go to server manager. So on the server manager, say in server manager, let's go to tools and select user and computer. Okay. And you need to expand sales organizational unit. And then properties of Sumesh Ranjan. We need to spot Sumesh Ranjan here under the users. Okay, it should be under sales organization unit. User is just a container. Let's go to the sales organization unit. And in here, search for Sumesh. Yeah, Sumesh Rajan is here. On this username, right click, select properties, and that will take you to the properties page. And in here, you have to go and add this particular attribute. Okay. So where to find that attribute? Organizations tab. So this is organization, and then the job title to be added as manager and say okay. You can verify it, right click properties, and you can go to organization and then the manager. Okay, that task is also done. Let's create a new user in here. I hope it should be under sales organization unit. Yes, here. Either you can go and search this particular, select this particular option, or you can go to sales, right click on top of sales. You have to right click. If not, it will not get created in the proper place. So better select sales and go here and add a user. And you need to give these names like the first name Jordan, last name Mikkel, and then user logon name is Jordan, and say next. I can uncheck this box. Anyways, we are not going to log in using this user. And then the password, you can also remember this password because in going forward, we use this password extensively. And this is easy, and it will match compliance of Azure. I think there is some mistake in typo. Let me redo it. Yeah. And say next and say finish. Fine. So there are two user got, one is edited, another one is added. And these two users we can see once we sync from AD to Azure Cloud on Azure Cloud environment. So once this is done, then we have to start. To start manually the sync operation, we can give this command called start AD sync cycle. For that, let me open PowerShell, run as administrator, start AD sync cycle. Okay, you cannot just copy paste it. You need to have a Word document, and indirectly you have to first copy to Word document and then do this. Instead, you can just simply type start ADSYNC cycle and hit enter. Yes, the sync cycle has started again. And now what happens that AD Connect will be examining the Active Directory state as well as the Azure Cloud Directory state. And if there is any object which is created in AD and that is not created over there, then it will create it now. Sometimes it might take 15 minutes for that modification to come up, but you can just test. If you can see the newly added user here, then fine. If not, you need to wait. So this is Sumesh Ranjan, and then I will just get inside Sumesh Ranjan and go and check the property. Under the properties, if you see the job title got edited, modified as manager. Similarly, let's go to user and search for the user what we have added, that is Jordan. Let me just remove this and type just Jordan. Yes, Jordan Mikkel is also added. Perfect. So this is what I have done now in the task 5. So due to some limitation, we cannot continue with exercise 5 and above. Even this is also one of the very good tasks, what is listed in this particular lab, but still exercise 5 and above, we cannot try because we need to enable this premium P2 license, a free trial versions for 1 month. And to do so, we need some credit card information, and that is not advisable to use the credit card information here. So that is why we cannot continue. So your lab will stop here. So you can also stop till here. That's enough. Thank you.